This recording is to help you with lesson 4.05, graphs of sine and cosine functions. Now there is a standard sine and cosine graph that we need to know, and that is y equals a sine of bx. Now a is going to be your amplitude, and b we're going to use to help you find the period of your graph. Now the amplitude is half the height of your graph, or you can say the height of your graph divided by 2. And the period is how long it takes your function to start over again. So here I would say that is 1 period. All right, so let's take a look here. I always think that amplitude is the easiest to find because amplitude is just the absolute value of A. And what's in front of your sine? Well, 2/3, so the absolute value of 2/3 is just 2/3. So half your height is 2/3 there. And then your period is 2 pi over b. And b in this case is what's next to your x, so that's just pi. So 2 pi over pi, your pi's reduce or cancel, so you're left with just 2. And that does match up to what our graph looks like there, because it looks like the x value would be approximately 2 right there. For the cosine, I'm just going to denote what a and b are first. A is the number out front, so that looks to be the 1/2. B is the number that's in front of x, and we actually have a fraction in front of x this time, the 2/3. So to find the amplitude, we're going to take the absolute value of 1/2, which is just 1/2. And the period, remember, for cosine is still 2 pi over b, so 2 pi over 2/3. And technically, we should rewrite that so it's a multiplication problem. Your 2's will cancel out, and you're left with just 3 pi for your period. For your next one, describe the relationship between graphs f and g. The only difference is that you're adding 2. So this has to do with your translations. If you're adding 2, that is just a vertical shift upward of your 2 units. So again, a review of your translation from way back in Unit 1. And the last problem we're going to go through is we have to create an equation for the graph here. I know that I'm using the sine curve. So let's find A, B, and C. Remember, A is simply your amplitude, which is half your height. So let's start there. Half your height, well, we can find the full height from top to bottom. That looks to be 6. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So your amplitude is going to be 3. All right. We have to notice, though, that the graph is reflected about the x-axis. A sine curve usually will look like this, going up and then down. So it's kind of reverse of what is shown there. Because it's reverse of that, we need that negative sign to show that reflection. So A is actually going to be a -3. All right, to find your period, remember sine has a period of 2 pi over b. Let's look at our graph and find the period for the graph that's shown up here. So I am just going to start at the origin because I always think that's the easiest. There is 1 full motion before my graph starts repeating itself, and that looks to be at about 3.14, which is pi. So if my period is pi, let's work on solving for b. I would multiply both sides by b. And then I would have to divide by pi. So if I divide both sides by pi, I get b equaling 2. Now c is any phase shift that you have, left or right. And we don't have any since it's still centered at the origin. So c is simply 0. Now plugging what we know back into our standard equation here, a is -3 sine of 2x. So -3 sine of 2x would be our final equation.